So people are actually rating you when you okay.
See you tomorrow.
See you, Lacey.
And they know who everybody is because their names. It's like real life Facebook.
Yeah, he's really something.
Look, she gave him a compliment. Boom.
Yo, this is kind of scary, dog. Because this is actually something I could see really happen in real life.
That's the thing about Black Mirror. That's exactly what we were saying. You were saying, you talking about it being sci-fi. We're like, no, this is like things that are like really plausible that can happen in the near future.
Yeah.
Like I was telling Abby earlier, I was like, kids these days, they more concerned with likes.
Yep. Likes
and,
on the
and
post.
followers more than, because he was saying Kareem, he wanted to pay him for the books.
Yeah.
And I was like, shoot, at least he wants money. Because I feel like the younger generation, they just like, man, nah, Dad, I need some likes. I need to get these followers up. I need to get these followers, son. You can keep that money.
Yeah.
Don't need it.
Yeah.
And then the crazy thing is, in the future, it might really be a thing where money is not as significant compared to likes and followers.
Clout.
That's scary.
Clout. Everybody's fighting for clout.
I mean, they say these, what do they call them influencers? Mm-hmm. They're the ones that run the game these days.
Man, I don't know. I think that game is dead, to be honest.
You think it's dead?
Oh, yeah.
Sure, I think it's just getting started.
That influencer game is drying up.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's drying up.
Saturated.
Yeah, it's drying up.
It's just going to evolve into something else.
Yeah.
Something else.
It may be a thing where you actually like need real talent. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your talent comes in many forms. But some of these, some of the earlier influences they just like fell right into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where now, like when it's saturated, now you gotta like, really be talented.
But what if the definition of talent?
Welcome to First and 15, the only podcast that's trying to get you paid. I'm here with our two-time FFPC champion, AB. Alongside him is my guy, Dio the Machine. Because this is Dynasty week, Dio is in the middle. We putting all the pressure on him this week to give us all the gems. Guys, let's talk about Dynasty for a bit. This is Dynasty week for the Player Profiler Network. Everybody's talking about Dynasty this week. We always talk about age when we talk about Dynasty, right? Like that age apex. Like when we talk about receivers and running backs, whether it's 28 for running backs, give or take, around 30 for receivers, give or take. What is that age apex for you, Dio? And like, how do you begin to kind of get rid of those aging players? And how do you determine when you want to hold on to some of those aging players? Because that's a big one, right?
That's an interesting question, right? Because I don't really look at it as far as age. Well, okay, let me take that back.
Yeah.
For running backs, I don't look at it as far as age, right?
Okay.
I'm more look at it as like how long until their second contract.
Okay.
Because for me, I feel like once they get into that second contract, they get paid. Number one, their motivation kind of dies down a little bit, and obviously they're getting older, so they're on the decline in my preference. So for me, for running backs, once they get to that second contract, unless they're high level running backs, so you're talking about like your C-Max, your Derrick Henrys, players like that, I'm already kind of looking to kind of figure out how to unload them for maximum value. Because the big thing with Dynasty is you don't want to wait too late to get rid of players, right? When you get rid of them, you want to actually get rid of them while their value is still high so you can get a good return. Ideally, the return would be young. Yeah. So it's almost like you're re-rolling. You kind of start from scratch with another talented player. So for me, the running back is more about when are they going to get in that second contract. And at that time, I start kind of considering moving them. As far as receivers, I look at it in two folds, right? If they're a high-end receiver, and in this case right now, currently we're looking at like a player like Devontae Adams. I'm not looking at it as, okay, he's older than 28, 29. Let me start now wanting to get rid of him. Okay. Because for what I've seen, these receivers, they tend to stay playing at a high level even into their early 30s, right? So somebody like Devontae Adams, I'll keep him even when he's 32 if he's still producing on a high, to high results. When I start seeing that decline, then I start saying, okay, maybe now we got to push them out.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of how I see it. Now, if they're a mid-level receiver, you know, like a suitable starter, I guess, then I'll probably start saying when they get into like the age 28, 27. I can't even really think about any type of examples right now, but maybe like a Brandin Cooks.
So there's no hard and fast rule that you have when it comes to these
No, I mean, you know me. I don't have any hard, steadfast rules on anything.
That's true.
You know, I just kind of, I'm like
This
water,
much is
just
true.
go with the
Right,
flow.
right.
Go with the flow. Quarterbacks and tight ends, though, no AJ picks whatsoever. I'll keep them until they're 40 if they're good enough.
Yeah.
You know, because even tight ends, what we always say, tight ends, when they come into the league initially, they tend to have a hard time kind of breaking through and, you know, getting used to the game. And you really start to see them really flourish when they're like in their late 20s, early 30s. Look at somebody like Travis Kelce. What is he, like 35 right now? Still producing?
He can't be 35.
He can't be 30.
What is he, like 34, 35?
He's old, though.
I don't know.
Like,
I might be,
he's
He's old.
I
He's
might be
old.
totally
He's
making
like
it up,
33,
but he's still
34.
number one
Yeah.
in the landscape for tight ends. You're not
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
get rid of him.
Yeah.
You know, Gronk, if Gronk was still, I think he's like 33.
Yeah.
But Gronk,
33.
if
yeah.
Gronk was still playing, you weren't going to get rid of him either. You
Nah.
know?
Yeah, no.
Quarterback's the same thing. Tom Brady was still a roster quarterback up to last year.
That's fair.
Until his
Yeah.
retirement day.
Yeah.
Same thing with Breeze.
Yeah.
Same thing with Manning. So, you know, it's different. And, you know, again, that's the way I approach it. Not everybody does it that way.
Yeah.
Now, and y'all are new to Dynasty.
Yeah.
So I know for y'all, because I know when I first got into Dynasty, it was one of those
Yeah.
things where I didn't make sense as far as age. For me, if a player is good,
Yeah.
the player was good. So I'm assuming that's kind of how y'all see it.
You're right.
Yeah.
you're
Is
right.
it starting to kind of change a little bit for y'all?
I mean, I don't know. I just kind of almost want to just listen to you do the whole show, to be honest. I just want to sit over here on the right. I mean, you kind of look like you in your element.
I'm just saying.
I think we need a Dynasty spinoff.
I'm just saying. Yeah,
It sounds like he had some stuff to get out.
it's a science, man. It's a science. So, you know, and everybody's science is different. So,
Yeah, I'll speak to it, you know, kind of being, you know, let's call it a novice when it comes to the Dynasty game. Last year was my first year. I felt like it was pretty successful. 2 for 2 for playoffs. Came in second place in one of the big FFPC 750 leagues.
Right.
You know, which is tight end premium, super flex. And honestly, I feel like I would have won first place had it not been for the Buffalo game, because the Buffalo game got canceled.
Okay. Yeah.
So all in all, pretty successful. And I approached it that way because in my mindset, and this is probably something that I'll just probably end up learning the hard way in the future, but in my mindset, I'm trying to win now.
Right.
I want that
Right.
trophy now.
Right.
I don't want that delayed gratification. That is the one
Right.
thing about Dynasty that I struggle with so much. I 100% get the idea of, you know, one of the young guys who can potentially give you 5 to 10 years of just elite, you know, level play.
Right.
Specifically more when it comes to wide receivers. Like, I really understand it with them. But with everybody else, man, I was just seeing Eckler, like, you know, fall super late. I had Eckler. I was seeing, you know, Travis Kelce go as, like, the tight end. I don't know, it was like 4 or 5 off the board.
See, those don't make sense to me because those guys, Eckler hasn't even gotten his second contract yet, right?
Yeah.
And Kelsey's still playing at such a high level. Those
Yeah.
are not players I would even see as far as get
you know,
rid of.
And to be great, you know, to be honest, I mean, I was lucky. I had the first overall pick, so you know, at that time, Josh Allen was kind of the perennial or the
Gotcha.
easy number one pick selection. So I was able to get, and then I made some trades. You know, I ended up basically just trading away like future picks to shore my lineup. You know, I wanted to make sure that, like, so I got the Cups, I got the Ecklers, I got the Kelseys. I said, you know what? Give me 3 to 4 years. And that's really
Right.
kind of how I approach it. I'm like,
Well-
give me 2 to 3 years. If I can get, if I'm in the playoffs for the next 3 to 4 years and I can get ideally 2 championships, to me, that's a win.
Yeah.
And if I got to go through a little bit of an extended rebuild, I'm fine with that.
See, but the problem, especially when it comes to Dynasty with that approach is your team can get old really fast if you're not churning it.
Yeah.
You know, like for example, Julio Jones, like 3 years ago, was one of the top wide receivers in Dynasty.
Yeah.
You know? And then a couple years ago, I had a team. I play a lot of Superflex teams, so people aren't familiar with Superflex is when you can start a quarterback in a flex position, so you essentially are playing 2 quarterbacks. So I was weak at quarterback, and I saw Julio kind of getting old, and I was like, okay, that's a piece of my team where I can kind of flip him
Yeah.
and get a good return value in quarterback,
Yeah.
knowing that, you know, after a couple of years, Julio's value is going to tank.
Yeah.
And fast forward to today, Julio's not even on the roster right now.
Yep.
Like
No, I agree.
Julio, in every Dynasty league, he's probably on your waiver wire right now.
You know,
so,
and I try to play it both ways. Like, for instance, I mean, and I'll probably, you know, this may go down as like a terrible trade and like a terrible idea, but I had 2 on my team last year. You know?
Tua?
Yeah, and I wasn't really looking at it from an age standpoint. As more I was looking at it from like a longevity standpoint, seeing all the hits he took. And it's something that's kind of hard to gauge. But in my mind, I just like the idea of like, having a dynasty team. I feel like that's like a significant investment in time and money. The idea of having a dynasty team and like, in a 2 QB league or a super flex league, being reliant on Tua, I just didn't want to go down that route. So I took a gamble based off a very limited sample size and traded Tua literally straight up for Jordan Love. Okay. So again, like I think if you look at dynasty trade charts and things like that, that's gonna come to surprise.
That's not a bad trade though.
I think other people.
It's all about it's all about value, right?
Yeah.
Because you're trading position for position, so it's not like you're declining or you're kind of going on a lower tier as far as position. Age wise, Jordan Love, if not the same age, maybe younger. Both have first round capital. The only thing you would look at that as is you kind of look at it as, do you think Jordan Love can hold on to that position going forward, or you think he has like a 1 or 2 year audition and then they're going to replace him?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like Green Bay is really wanting to give him the keys to the reign.
Right.
I like the design of the offense where it's you're not asking the quarterback to do too much if he can stay within the offense.
Right.
And I like the idea that he's been in the offense for a couple of years now.
Okay.
And they really went out of their way to say this is your team right now. He still got to go out and prove it.
Right.
But this is basically Jalen Hurts 2022.
Got you.
Where remember, I think people forget what the thoughts were on Jalen Hurts as a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
Not necessarily everyone was believing that he was the next best thing. In fact, a lot of people kept talking about Deshaun Watson going to Philadelphia.
The Eagles didn't believe him.
The Eagles didn't believe him. Yeah.
Didn't you see a report where they were trying to trade for Russell Wilson?
Oh, absolutely.
Last summer?
Yeah, absolutely.
So they obviously didn't believe him.
So, like you said, you always say it too, things can change on a dime and very quickly. So really all it takes is a guy to go out there and prove it. And I think if you put him in the right situation, you put the right tools around him and the right system, I think it's something that makes it a lot easier for them to prove themselves. The only issue with Green Bay right now is just the young receiving corps. I think the pieces are talented. They're just very, very young. As much as I like Christian Watson this year, I would have loved to have seen someone like a D-Hop or one of these more veteran wide receivers in there, end up there just to kind of help them out a little bit. But we'll see.
The only pushback, and it's not really pushback, the only critique I'll say, and I said at the time when you told us about the trade, is so everything with Dynasty for me is about value.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not even real value. It's more perceived value.
Yep.
What people think. And that's why you always want to kind of be understanding of the landscape of the fantasy community, the Dynasty community. Who are they high on? Who are they low on? If you take both of those quarterbacks in a vacuum, I think 9 out of 10 times, if not 10 out of 10 times, people are going to say Tua is the more valuable quarterback.
Yeah,
right?
and I realized it right away that I should have basically asked for more than straight up.
There you go.
Because I've never seen somebody accept a trade so quickly. He didn't accept we weren't in person or anything, but I could feel through my computer that this man was I hope that wasn't a mistake because you're not getting them back.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. And I mean, we could talk about my trade strategy, but if you really feel, and obviously you do, if you feel like Tua is not as valuable or is not going to have a good future outlook compared to Jordan Love, but you understand that everybody else thinks Tua is a better value, throw in something. Yeah. If anything, a draft pick.
Yeah.
I always tell people when I make trades, even when I'm negotiating with a person back and forth for a good amount of time, right when I find the trade where I like it, I'm gonna just say, you know what, throw in a fourth or a third rounder. Kind of like what we did in our Dynasty League with old boy the other time. You know what I'm saying? Because
they're watching.
But it's just about the fact that if I know Jordan Love is that dude, but everybody else doesn't think that, then let me see if I can get a little bit more. Get greedy with it,
And that's that's the hardest part about Dynasty for me is I'm just so stuck in my ways when it comes to a certain player. If I like a certain player, I don't care.
Yeah.
I literally don't care. I'll just take that player out of ADP. I'll take that player. I'll be overweight on that. So from a Dynasty standpoint, literally it was just almost I don't care. Y'all know I'm kind of high on Jordan Love.
Right.
So it's almost I just it. I didn't care about necessarily winning the trade, but I understand
you just wanted your guy.
But now I understand Dynasty is a different type of beast. It's a different type of game. You need to get as much as you can.
You kind of want to play coy a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
First of all, if you did, I keep saying if you did, we know you do. With you loving Jordan Love as much as you do, you don't let people know about that in your league.
I wouldn't say love.
Well, you like him a lot, right?
Yeah, I don't love. I like love.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we had that pun last week. But if you like him so much, you don't let people know. You just kind of throw feelers out there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know what's up, Jordan Love?
Yeah.
And then you kind of feel him out. If he likes it, you like it. Okay, my guy's more valuable. Throw somebody in there.
Yeah.
Right. So
Who's that veteran though that everyone considers over the hill that you're still holding on to, right? Like that when you think about running backs, hey, like this is an aging running back, but you know what? I'm gonna hold on to him.
You're basically talking about Derrick Henry, right? Derrick Henry is the perfect example of what you're talking about. A player that's old, everybody's waiting for him to kind of fall off the cliff, but at the same time, he's still producing.
Yeah.
Everything's telling you need to trade him now, but when you trade him, the other team that's going to get him is probably going to still get another 2 years of top-end running back value.
Yeah.
You know? And that's kind of the decision you make.
Yeah.
You know, what do they always say? Bill Belichick, or not Bill Belichick, or maybe it was Parcells.
Trade him a
Give
year
guy
early.
1 year early rather than 1 year too late.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the same approach.
But I feel like given the current landscape of running backs, I feel like that, to me, I think that is a bit outdated because a lot of these running backs really only have a good 2 to 3 years of actual production.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, even the ones that are in the league for a good 5 years, like a year or two of that are injury filled. Like take someone like Saquon Barkley or CMC or even an Alvin Kamara.
Right.
Like you have 2 or 3 years and then it either falls off or there's an injury because that's just the nature of the running back position. And we have to also deal with running back by committee.
Right.
So when I'm looking at a running back, if I'm thinking in my mind, this running back can give me 2 to 3 years of elite potential, I value that the same way as almost very closely to some of the rookies or the earlier players.
Here's the dilemma you got to deal with. You know, we know Father Time is undefeated to some extent, right? We know that. We don't know when a guy's going to get injured.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're looking at, let's say who was a good running back last year that's still healthy, because I feel like all the running backs, the young running backs that are still healthy. So, I don't know. Let's say Breece Hall, he comes back healthy, right? And then you look at somebody like Derrick Henry. We know in about 3-4 years, Derrick Henry is most likely not even going to be in the league. Right. Okay. While Breece Hall, we can at least say in the next 3-4 years he's still going to be in the league.
Yeah.
Hopefully, still playing at a high level.
See that to me is just not enough. Breece Hall is probably the extreme example.
You wouldn't trade Breece Hall for Derrick Henry? I mean, you wouldn't trade Derrick Henry to get Breece Hall?
So that's the extreme example.
Okay.
So I think maybe a more comparable example would be Javonte Williams.
He's hurt right now. Yeah.
But who would you rather have? Who has a higher dynasty value right now, Javonte Williams or Derrick Henry?
I'd probably say they're kind of equal.
Okay, yeah, because give me Derrick Henry 100 times out of 100.
I would probably say if Javonte was not coming off of this injury, this ACL injury.
Well, let's play this
I would
game
say
for a second.
Derrick Henry or Rashad White?
Yeah. What about Kenneth Walker?
Or Rashad White?
Derrick Henry.
I don't think Rashad White is good. So.
Okay.
Kenneth Walker.
I would probably trade Henry for Walker.
So you would take the Henry side?
No, I'd take the Walker side.
Okay, yeah, give me the Henry side.
Yeah, I would take the Walker side there.
Give me the Henry side.
I'd take the Henry side.
Right. Of course, I mean, again, it's just a dynasty mindset.
Yeah.
Even if I feel like Henry is more valuable, will produce more points the next year or two, I'm looking at the long term, because when you play dynasty, it's really a commitment.
This is why we're not dynasty players.
Right.
It's a commitment.
Because we just can't see it.
I can't see it.
Because
I just can't see it.
if you really, and I remember I heard somebody say one time that dynasty leagues fail after 5 years. I don't try to take that approach. I really take the approach as once I'm in the dynasty league, as long as I'm playing fantasy, we're just going to keep playing, right? Because guys get replaced. So if I'm looking at 2 running backs, and again, right now Derrick Henry's value is the highest.
Yeah.
If Derrick Henry has a season where he gets hurt again, or they start having more rumors like they want to trade Henry.
Yeah.
Next year, his value is not going to be as high as it is right now.
That's true. Yeah.
While Walker can have the same exact season he just had this past season, and his value will still be the same, unless Charbonnet.
That's what I'm worried about.
Those things off.
Or injury, or that he's just not. Maybe he's not.
Well, even if it's an injury, he's gonna come back.
But that's my point though. Is these running backs get injured?
Right.
There's now RBBC. So if I can get a running back, and again, Derrick Henry situation.
But you can say that with everybody too. You can say the Titans might do that.
But that's what I'm saying. There are a few running backs that really have true bell cow potential.
True.
And so if I can get 2 to 3 years of that, I just rather bank that rather than kind of play around with the idea that this player may potentially
and again,
be this at some point
again,
in the distant future.
It becomes philosophy, right? Because it goes back to that Julio thing.
Yeah.
Julio still produced another year or a year and a half, 2
Yeah.
years. Now he's dust.
Yeah.
There's going to be a point where Henry
I just have to
dust.
say it in financial terms. $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, like, I'd rather win right now and
Yeah.
worry
Yeah,
about
I want the trophy now. I want the trophy now.
Well, the
about
goal in reality is
Yeah.
while you're accumulating young talent, you still are trying to win. I
Yeah.
think some dynasty players, they're always in this rebuild mindset.
Right,
where they're
right,
always trying
right.
to stay young. They're always trying to build for the future, collecting draft picks, and I don't like that approach.
Yeah, like Chase versus well, who's it? Chase versus who's the what's his name?
like a player or something.
Yeah. Who was it? It was a dynasty. It was like a dynasty question.
Oh, I don't know.
Was it Chase?
Was it Devontae or something?
No, just basically damn, what's his name? I'll come back to it. I'm blanking right now.
Well,
We're talking about Jamar Chase, right?
I don't know if it was Chase or not. Let me think about that one. I'll come back to that.
Well, like I said, it's just one of those things where I'm trying to accumulate draft picks, accumulate young players, and still win at the same time. Because in reality, my goal is to have a stretch of success. Like actually build a dynasty.
Oh, Marvin Harrison, versus Jamar Chase.
Oh yeah.
Remember that? It's like, why is that even a question? Like,
That's stupid though. It got to be Chase. Chase is so young. Like, what Marvin Harrison is 2 years younger than Chase?
Yeah.
So that would have been a dumb
but like
question.
that's like to me, like at least what I think of when I think of the stereotypical.
But
like,
there's going to be
dynasty
people
players.
in Dynasty that are probably going to take the Harrison side on that.
I'm not arguing what side to take. What I'm arguing is,
Say
why
Harrison.
it's even a question. Like that's just such a.
I mean, that's just
question.
the Dynasty mindset.
Yeah.
But so that question you asked is I think it's the quintessential
Yeah.
Derrick Henry question people are battling with right now.
Yeah.
Because Derrick Henry was supposed to fall off 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You know?
Derrick Henry or J.K. Dobbins?
Ooh. Oh, Derrick Henry. Easy. That's easy for me.
I would go down.
I'm not drafting
that's a
Dobbins.
tough one.
Here's the thing.
I'm not drafting Dobbins.
Here's the thing, though. I would say give me Dobbins and a second round pick.
Yeah.
That's how I would play it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm trying to get something on. Like, because you want it, because for me, I want to get similar value with the add on.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So hopefully, and if Dobbins comes back right, hopefully he can produce, if not the exact same as Henry, close to it.
Yeah.
Then I got this extra little sweetener.
I think the important thing too is that like we get stuck thinking like very in a very static way, like in a very now in the moment type of way. Because one of the biggest things that I always like to do, like, I sent it out before, is like I just like to go back and like look at what did the draft board look like last year. And the main reason that I do that is because I like to see like what were people thinking last year and how did that drastically change this year and why so. Like the idea of like even Travis Kelce, and this is like minimal, but the idea of like, the way people talk about Travis Kelce just, potentially being the number 1 overall pick and just like so far elite and ahead of everyone. Remember, there were questions 2-3 years ago, Darren Waller over Travis Kelce,
Right.
Mark Andrews over Travis Kelce.
Right.
Yeah.
But Travis Kelce today, another year older, another year closer to retirement, is viewed so differently now, as if he can't go through this season, have negative TD regression, have a Kadarius Toney or a Scott Moore or somebody else kind of creep up, or just suffer a minor hamstring injury that keeps him out 2 to 3 weeks, and then the whole thought of how we think about Travis Kelce completely changes. And that happens with every single player. Like CMC, for instance. The idea of CMC. Remember, early on, it was CMC's injury prone. CMC's this. We don't want to do this. Same thing with Saquon Barkley. Now these guys are touted as like CMC is basically the consensus number one running back.
First of all, with Kelce, again, it goes back to what I was saying about tight ends. They don't fall off. So, and the fact that he's tied to Mahomes, I don't think his value is going to change until we actually
I'm saying
see
the perception changes.
Right.
But his value today is, to me, is higher than it was last year.
But two things.
Definitely.
But two things. 2 points
and that
I want
shouldn't
to
be
make.
the case.
The first point I want to make is one big thing with Dynasty is, for me, I always when I am looking at my players or considering trade acquisitions, I'm thinking about the player that I'm getting. How is their value going to allow me to flip them later? Like, do they have value where I can trade them for good value in a future trade. Like Derrick Henry, if I was to trade for him now, in 2 years from now, I feel like his value is going to depress just off GP.
Yeah.
Just because he's older, he's a running back. So I'm not going to get that same type of return. While Dobbins, I can see a scenario where 2 years from now his value is higher, if not the same, than it is now. So that's how I look at it. But here's the second point I want to make. Let's look at a player like Dalvin Cook, right? 2 years ago, first round pick, high early dynasty type pick. Now you look at him. I mean, what has changed much? I mean, he's off the Vikings.
That's my exact point. That's when it comes to running back. You can't look at him. I think people kind of put him in the same bucket as wide receivers.
His value though is not anywhere close to what it was last year. So regardless of his production, you're not going to be able to trade away Dalvin Cook and get the same type of return now as you were last season. And that's the dilemma when it comes to
what I can argue right now. Trades. You know what I can argue right now? Bijan Robinson, his value is the highest it will ever be.
And
it makes sense.
I told you that.
I know it makes sense. But why are you now going out and like seeing what you can get for Bijan?
I mean, you should. You should.
I feel like if you got Bijan, you want to just hold on.
It was one of y'all I was talking to in the group chat that day, and y'all were talking about how y'all weren't feeling Bijan, and I was saying it has no bearing on BJ or his skill set whatsoever. The thing with Bijan is his value was higher than any other player in Dynasty at the time. It still kind of is. Maybe not Jefferson and Chase. But there's nobody else more valuable than Bijan, which means you can take that piece of currency and go flip it for literally whatever you want if you truly don't believe in him.
Who's the wide receiver 3 in Dynasty right now?
I'll say Garrett Wilson.
So would you do Bijan straight up for Garrett Wilson?
No.
Wow.
I just told you why though. Bijan's value is higher.
So okay, now straight up, would you okay, in a vacuum.
Let's say
in a vacuum.
Okay.
You're in a Dynasty league right now.
Yeah.
Who would you prefer, Bijan or Garrett Wilson?
It can't be in a vacuum because again, I'm looking at the future value. But if I was just straight, looking at the player, maybe Wilson.
Okay.
Because I know Wilson has a longer likely career.
Yeah.
Receivers can last longer than running backs.
Yeah.
But again, the reason why I'm going to say Bijan because I feel like if I was to trade away Bijan, I can get more for Bijan than I can for Wilson.
But you can, but at some point you have to.
If
you're going to do that.
You said what?
Like if the idea or the thought of Bijan's value is what you can get for him, then don't you need to get something for him?
You have to get something for him at the point.
No, you try. No, I'm not saying you don't try. There's two.
So you get Garrett Wilson.
There's two factions. There's the value of Bijan and trying to get as much value back for him, and then there's the other faction of people that just really think Bijan is that great of a running back, and they're not going to trade him because they feel like he is going to be the cornerstone of their team for the next 3-4 years. So it's just all about how
versus like 10 years.
I mean, we can't guarantee Garrett Wilson is going to be the greatest for 10 years. I mean, right now he looks great, and there's a likely chance that he's going to be that dude.
Listen, you can't. But that's the thing is you can't guarantee that for anybody. And for a running back, you are much more likely to suffer an issue.
But here's the thing: y'all trying to like justify it or like logically explain it away. That's irrelevant. All that matters is again, what's the perceived value, and the perceived value is Bijan is at the top of the hill. So if you can have Bijan on your team, you get him, and if you don't like him, flip him.
All right, let's stay on running backs for a second because
that sounds like an unsolvable paradox.
Maybe that's Dynasty though. Welcome to Dynasty football, man. Welcome to Dynasty football.
So the purpose of Bijan is because of his value, because of what you can get for him.
No. I said
but you want to get him on your team
there's two factions.
Because of what you could potentially get for him.
No, there's two factions. People that just like the value. And there's people that really think Bijan is that great of a running back.
But I'm saying I'm talking about the people that like the value. I can argue against the people who just think he's just that good, that he's like the number 1, number 2 overall guy. But the people who think that he's just a great value to have, to me, that's just like, okay, you think he's such a great value, you have him on your team. Now what?
But here's the question I have for you then. Here's the dilemma most of them probably are having. There's a chance Bijan's value might go up.
How?
What? He hasn't played yet. What if he actually does produce at a high level, right?
We've seen this with Jonathan Taylor, though.
No, Jonathan Taylor was not from day one. Jonathan Taylor was not valued the way that Bijan is now. Bijan's value now is the way kind of when Barkley first came out.
And what are you talking about? Like last year, JT was the consensus.
No, I'm talking about dynasty rookies. I'm talking about rookies before they got on the field. JT wasn't even the first rookie drafted.
And then
it was CEH that year.
Oh, right, but like he's
but what I'm
already
saying is,
drafted as a
look at
rookie.
look at
No,
Barkley's value.
what I'm saying is, coming into a season, Bijan is a rookie. His value right now is the same way Barkley's value was perceived when
Right.
Barkley was coming to the
Okay,
season. JT's value was not perceived
Right,
this
right,
way.
right.
Now, once JT did what he did, what was that? 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Then his value shot up, but he had to actually do it. Now, what if Bijan does the same exact thing JT did? His value is gonna go up, and there's people that think he can do that.
I'm not saying he can't do that. I'm
If
a
he
Bijan
does
fan.
that, his value's gonna go up. I guarantee you.
Okay, possibly. I
guarantee
just feel like his value is so high right now.
Yeah,
is.
I just can't imagine it going in.
Hey.
And I'm not saying that it shouldn't be high. I'm just saying that, like, again, I'm speaking to like that dynasty philosophy of like acquire value so you can flip it.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's also a lot of trades where people take that mindset, and then the value that they trade away keeps getting more valuable.
Yeah.
It's literally like the stock market.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you sell a stock when there's a certain level, think it's gonna come down.
Yeah.
Next thing you look, you know.
Yeah.
I got you. Let's stay on running backs for a second because I don't remember a time where this many high value running backs were still on the market with teams that need running backs. Like
This is
we
this
in
is
redraft
Dynasty
mode
right now.
we're in redraft
I mean-
mode.
Oh,
Let's move to Cincinnati.
No, I mean, but think about the question you're
You don't
asking.
want to leave.
No, think about the question you're asking though, right?
Yeah.
These running backs that are talented,
Right.
great, 2 years ago,
Right.
were valued highly even in Dynasty, and now look at what are you doing? Like, if you have Fournette on your team right now, what are you doing?
Right.
Stuff.
You can't trade him.
You can't do anything.
You can't cut him.
Yeah.
He just has to be on your team until, even if he signs with the team, like I still don't even think you could trade him or cut him.
No.
Yeah,
Right?
no.
So
But-
and these running backs, that's gonna end up being a lot of their stories. Mixon is not too far from there.
Now, let's be clear. We're talking about redraft right now.
Okay, we switched.
We're switching over to redraft. What are you doing with Lenny at this point? How are you perceiving like Lenny? I mean, like he's not on the team. We expect him to be on the team.
You mean Leonard Fournette specifically?
Fournette, yeah.
I just don't even. I'm not even paying attention to him.
See, but here's the thing with Fournette, right? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In redraft, I'm really not paying attention to him. In best ball, like if you want to take a stab here or there, you do some zero RB build or whatever, et cetera, or you just like want to do like a dart throw. I can see how it can make sense there. For redraft, for me, I don't know. I have very little appetite. for
So
that.
so here's my thing about Fournette, right? Mm-hmm. I kind of feel what you're saying.
Yeah.
And we're talking because right now we're talking about redraft, so this is draft season, right?
Right.
So we're only really talking about would you draft him, and if you would, where would you draft him, right?
Yeah.
Fournette is going, and I haven't been in a lot of drafts, not as many as Abby, and I don't know how many you've been doing, but Fournette is going so late that he's going in the same range as the handcuffs people think are handcuffs, right?
Yeah.
Like the handcuffs, we're not even positive they're handcuffs yet, but we just want to believe in that guy. He's going in that same exact range.
Yeah, he really is.
Let me tell you this: if Fournette does sign with a team, he's not going to sign with that team to just sit on the bench.
Yeah.
If he's not getting starter work, he's going to get valuable backup work.
Yeah.
So then the question is it worth it to take Fournette? 'Cause honestly, the same question could be said for Hunt.
Yeah.
Is it worth it to take that late?
Yeah.
To bank on the fact that, because then you really, I guess the real question is, do we believe Fournette is going to be signed by a team?
Yeah.
Do you think so, or you think he's going to be a free agent?
I think it's a question mark, but I honestly, like, I get what you're saying, and this might kind of like piggyback onto our next discussion. But to me, I just, okay, say he gets on a team. What is his value? Does he have standalone value? Possibly so, but does he have standalone value to where, like, I want to be able to start him? Like, I guess if you're in a pinch, you're in a tight spot, and you just like need an RB2 to start,
right?
Potentially, and yeah, maybe there's a situation where like the starter goes down,
yeah,
and then
that's
he's
really
a handcuff,
Yeah, that's really
so
it.
like maybe he is like a handcuff plus.
Yeah.
You look at him versus like he's going around guys like Pierre Strong, Ty Chandler, Malik
look
Davis.
up here. He's going behind CH, behind Gainwell. Like, these are guys you're not starting day one.
Yeah.
So,
well, Gainwell is to me is just Gainwell to me has more value than Leonard.
no, he has more value, yes, but you're not starting him day one.
No.
You're only playing Gainwell if you're in a pinch or injury happens.
But like a Chase Brown, like
Same thing. We don't even know Chase Brown's the backup.
no, we don't.
It could
Dwayne
be Travion
McBride.
Williams.
Yeah, he's going after Dwayne McBride in his draft. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
for
Because
me, when I'm looking at these players,
Yeah.
I'm like, do I want to take a stab at guys I wish can be guys, or Fournette would? I know he has talent. It may not be as much talent as he used to have, but if he signs with the team, I don't think they're going to sign him not to use him.
Yeah. This has been my biggest pivot though, like for 2023. Just like again, given like kind of what I'm seeing happen in the league, is that before like I wanted to just fill my roster with green in these later rounds because this is the idea is that like when people like when analysts do projections, no running back gets projected for 17 full games for all full games. Like it's very rare. So what is that telling us? That's basically telling us that you're expected to miss at least one game, if not multiple.
Right.
Because it's a volatile position. It's a position that gets hurt. So, yeah, these are dart throws, but we're taking dart throws at a position where we expect the player on that specific team to miss games.
Yeah.
The issue now, though, is that these backfields are a lot more clouded. Before, it was easy to kind of know and figure out and guess who the handcuff is. I think nowadays, when I go back and look at boards, the industry as a whole, or I should say the market, has been wrong probably more times than not.
Would you say that's more because you're drafting early though?
No,
because
no. I'm looking at like ADP boards from like towards the back end of last year. Okay. And so my pivot has been like, well, one, we're guessing wrong. Two, even if the starter does go down, their value really isn't
1 for 1.
Yeah, their value really isn't all that good. And three, this is the main thing. We're heading to a more passing heavy league, So I would much rather just take a stab at one of these wide receivers. Because in essence, these wide receivers can be handcuffs too. They can be a Leonard Fournette essentially. They can have standalone value potentially. Like they just may ascend at a certain point in the year. They may have more perceived value than we had anticipated before. But also, if their starter goes down, which can happen easily. We've seen wide receivers get hurt. If their starter goes down, they potentially become a wide receiver 2 or even a wide receiver 1 in certain situations. So I'd rather just sort of kind of take a stab at one of those guys in the later rounds than some of these handcuffs.
See, if you're on that tip right there, I'd rather take stabs on these tight ends. Personally, and
we got a couple.
I guess I should preface this by talking about this is more FFPC or tight end premium type leagues. I'll take a stab on these young tight ends because I feel like the tight end landscape right now is so mushed up right now.
Man,
I feel like there's guys we like, but I think it's all just guesses, just Hail Mary guesses right now. And there's gonna be some players, some tight ends taken later in these drafts that we're gonna look back week 15 and be like, wow, how did this guy go so late?
Yeah, I know there's one in particular. And this guy,
Juwan Johnson?
No.
Who?
That's for another episode.
Okay. Well, I mean, the tight ends I like that are going late, like Trey McBride, Laporta, Juwan Johnson, who just Dalton Schultz. I feel like it's going too late. I think the Texans might use him a fair amount. But there's a lot of tight ends that you could really take late, wait on tight ends, plug in your starting lineup, and they might give you pretty good value.
That's been the gameplay for a minute now. I think it's been very successful.
Yeah.
Tyler Conklin, too.
I like
for an offense that's expected to be as high powered as that.
The Packers tight end.
Yeah.
I don't think we really know who the Packers tight. I think whoever the Packers tight end ends up being might actually put up a fair amount of value.
Love been talking up Luke Musgrave. He's been kind of talking him up a little bit.
The Cowboys tight end. Ferguson.
Yeah, Ferguson is going in like the 18th, 19th.
That's what I'm saying.
That one I'm saying.
I mean,
I thought he looked better than Dalton Schultz last year when he was actually in.
People love to hate Dalton Schultz just because he's not athletic. It has nothing to do with athleticism.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. When I saw them on the field, I said, hey, if they got to pay Dalton Schultz, hey, like this guy looks just as good as Dalton Schultz.
He doesn't, though. He doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not, and it has nothing to do with speed, athleticism. Dalton Schultz knows how to get open. He knows how to use leverage, and he has hands. He's in the right spot at the right time when his quarterback.
I mean, that might be true, but we don't know if Ferguson doesn't have that ability either. Because remember, who did Schultz replace when he got hurt? Who was that tight end that got hurt like 2 years ago for the Cowboys?
Oh yeah, the guy that everybody else was high on.
Yes.
I can't even.
I don't remember his name, but he was the guy.
Yeah, he was the guy.
And then he got hurt early.
Nobody
and
picked up Schultz.
Exactly, and then Schultz took over.
And remember, it was a good 2 or 3 weeks, and nobody wanted to believe.
Nobody believed it. Yeah,
nobody believed it. So he was still
Schultz,
on the
come on, man.
Yeah.
The white boy now.
Yeah,
he ain't it. So I mean, so for me, I'm taking stabs in those tight ends. But I do feel you on some of these backup running backs that we used to just try to paint our teams with on the back end.
Yeah,
I'm not really jumping on those guys because. Again, we're so wrong about these backups.
So wrong.
Was it 2 years ago I was high on Anthony McFarland?
Yeah.
The Steelers backup running back?
Yeah. I mean, we all been there. We all been there. We all been there.
Yeah,
and every now and then it works out, but we all been there.
Well, let's talk about Alvin Kamara for a second. It seems like Alvin Kamara, considering the production that he's had in the past, he's going really late as well. People don't know if he's going to be suspended or not. How do you guys feel about Alvin Kamara, and how are you treating him with this? I guess this pending criminal case. That's kind of.
I think we got different views on this because I think you said you weren't even touching him. Well, I'll let you speak.
I wouldn't say I'm not touching him because I think I have a share or two.
Okay.
For me, this is a situation where, man, I'll just be quite honest. I have no clue. I don't know because I was so high on Alvin Kamara last year, and I watched. When you're high on a player, you pretty much you watch them.
Yeah,
you watch them very closely.
You were invested in him. Heavily.
I was invested heavily.
Yeah,
and I keep hearing that he's lost it. He lost a step. He's not.
That's what people are saying.
That's what people are saying, and to me. That was really not the case. Yeah, could he have lost a little bit of athleticism? Sure.
They didn't really use him.
But they did. If you watch how they used him, they ran him in between the tackles over and over and over again. They did not use him in space. They did not use him in the passing game. Andy Dalton was on his ish last year, trying to prove to the world that he could still play. And so he was constant. Right. He wanted no.
Do they have the same OC this year?
Same OC.
Okay.
But different quarterback.
Right.
Okay, so I think to me, David, Derek Carr is someone who will take that check down. We saw it last year with Jacobs. Yeah. So honestly, to me with Kamara,
sounds like you're coming around a little bit.
Not that I'm coming around. Actually, I might be coming around because right now, I think when I first started drafting, I want to say he was going 7th and 8th. And to me, that
he
was
still kind of is though. Where's he going right now?
At times, if you get in a room. And you get 10 to 11 guys that are just not believers. You can get them in the 11th.
11?
Maybe not the 11th, but I got the shares that I have are shares from the 10th round. At that point, I'm
so right here is 7th round.
See, that's too early for me. I can't do 7th. And I'm not saying that that's wrong, but there are a number of guys on this board that went after him. Give me Tyler Lockett. Give me Marquise Brown.
Okay. Forget the receivers. What running backs would you have been taking?
I would have taken David Montgomery.
David Montgomery?
Yeah, I'm not a Pacheco guy, so.
So for me, I actually like Kamara at that value.
Yeah.
Y'all remember our team last year, the team we drafted in the pod with D-Hop? Mm-hmm. And how we were man, we ain't got to worry about D-Hop for 6 weeks. We're just trying to get it through.
Yeah.
And then when D-Hop eventually came back, how he just kind of boosted our team. Yeah. I think this kind of same situation you can have with Kamara. He's going so late.
Yeah.
And people are ignoring him. He's almost a guy you can draft in that backup slot. When I say backup slot, I mean you filled up your whole starting roster.
Yeah.
And when you select him, he automatically is in the bench spot. Yeah. And if he comes back right, because we know it's not an injury, I don't think he's lost talent.
No.
Again, you just say he improved his again. Yeah, that's true.
That's my issue. That is my issue because the OC has not changed. The head coach has not changed.
He went 10th round. This league right here.
I think that may have been that may have been my squad.
No. Okay. This is a slow draft. I just
So that is my issue, though.
Yeah.
I watched this
head coach
and this OC use him so ineffective. And there were times, too, and again, this may just, it may be just a quarterback thing because there were times last year, if you just go back and watch the film, the dude is just wide open in the flat. Mm-hmm. It's just wide. And Andy Dalton just has tunnel vision. He had tunnel vision for one. And I'm not saying that was wrong play, but you could tell he was trying to prove something. Right. He was trying to hit, Juwan Johnson down the seam or looking deep for Olave. He had tunnel vision and he had zero interest.
Or Rashid Shaheem, my guy.
And that's how you have to use Alvin Kamara. You don't want Alvin Kamara carrying the ball 20 times a game.
Right.
Not even 15 should be his max. You give him 10 to 15 carries. At most, 15 carries, and you utilize him in the passing game. And then if he can get that goal line work, because my issue now is basically they didn't really like. If there were times last year they really didn't even want to use him around the goal line.
Right.
They bring in Taysom Hill or they bring in a bigger back, and so now you have Jamal Williams. I'm not a big believer in Jamal Williams, but he scored a lot of touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
And Kendre Miller. Those are to me some real, guys who can like help take the load off of Kamara.
I guess
maybe what they want.
I guess for me, I do trust in Derek Carr a little bit more, but I guess I just look at it as he just has such a high ceiling that, okay, there's a chance he doesn't hit. There's a chance he could be the same Kamara as last year. But there's also a chance that he can hit on a very high ceiling and be a game changer for you. Yeah. And the other players going around his slot, I don't really see that in them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're solid players, but I don't think they're players that can really, like, be game changer. I don't think they're players that can lead your team in scoring that week.
Yeah.
Well, we saw Kamara. I mean, he has the record 6 touchdowns in the game, help you win that money that year.
Yeah.
So, getting a player like that on your bench, just sitting there waiting.
Yeah.
And again, it's not an injury, so when he comes back, he's going to be healthy, he's going to be fresh. Psh, I would do it. Especially 10th round?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, 10th round I think
I
is
would
too
do
late.
that
So that's
easily.
usually
Easily,
that's been my mark. But like, I just and this is probably like the laziness factor that kind of comes in, and we all kind of have it. Where like there's just a situation where you just quite don't know, but you don't take the time to really dive in. That's really why we started this pod, to be quite honest. That's why we started talking.
Yeah.
It wasn't to discuss who we want to take, Jamar Chase or JJ number one. It was
Talking
like
through
these
it.
like difficult decisions. Is like, man, how do you like kind of like how do you play this out when you're in a draft? How do you like
peep game. Going on a slight tangent, but same subject. Remember I was saying with the running backs, that second contract?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
After that second contract for Kamara, man.
Oh, yeah.
Started going
Man,
down. Joe Mixon started going down. These running backs, when they get to that second contract, something happens. Yeah. And I don't think it's a talent thing. I don't know if it's the team using them differently. They're not as motivated. They're not trying to grind
on the body.
I don't know.
Maybe,
but here's one thing I want.
It's hard to get up and go to work when you sleep in silky sheets.
I never heard that saying, but I like that.
Yeah.
Silk sheets sound terrible.
So don't buy silk sheets while I have a job.
Hey man, it's hard to get up and go to work.
Okay. Retirement don't get them hoes.
I don't know about that.
So the other thing I wanted to mention, and this is we didn't even talk about this before, but AJ Dillon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I think he's being slightly undervalued, and people kind of ignore him. But there's something. I think the fact that this is okay. There's a few things I've noticed, right?
Yeah,
I've noticed how he's kind of been real buddy with Jordan Love a little bit.
Mm-hmm. They all have.
Talking him up.
But
I don't search it, but I'm seeing Dillon talk up Jordan Love. I'm seeing they were on a boat or something recently, and AJ Dillon was in the background, just kind of cheesing in the camera, So I was like, okay, they kind of have a little bump. I think they came in the same draft together.
Yeah,
Love was the first rounder, Dillon was the second rounder. But then on top of that, this is AJ Dillon's contract year.
Yeah,
he might be a guy.
The team has talked about it. This is the thing too. So again, going back to our previous discussion, one of the easiest things that you can do as far as trying to figure out like who's this year's value is go back and look at the board before, look at the player, and then look at where their ADP is now, and then try to like explain why there's such a huge discrepancy. Because remember, he was getting up to the 5th round last year, and now you can get him in like 10th round, like 11th round at times,
8th, 9th.
You know, like so. That's a player where like you got to ask yourself what really changed with the situation. I didn't necessarily think that Aaron Rodgers played amazing last year.
Right.
So you got the quarterback change, but for the most part, like, okay, I mean, you could really just argue the fact that they're probably going to lean on the run a little bit more.
Bingo.
And
that was the third point I was going to make.
And the thing, I think everybody, nobody really wanted to say it last year, but I think the thing that people were like leaning on or banking on with A.J. Jones was that Aaron Jones he's going to go down at some point because he had a history of it. Right. Remember, I keep telling people you're injury prone until you're not.
Yep.
And everybody kept, people were kind of scared off. People were scared of him last year. Guess what? What did he do? He played the entire season. Yeah. So this may be the season where we see Aaron Jones miss a couple.
Those years, though, and I think it was even last year. Those years, I think that's a problem some drafters have is they tell themselves this story about these backup running backs gaining so much value in season that they drive up their value way too high. Yeah. He was still a backup running back.
Yeah.
As long as Aaron Jones was there, he was always going to be the second person to get on the field.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to get, he might have get high value touches, but the first option was most likely going to be Aaron Jones. So for you to take him, what did you say, 5th round last year, 6th round?
No, not me.
I'm just saying that's what he was going.
Yeah.
For people to take him that high, they're basically banking on all that stuff happening for him, so you draft him at his ceiling, and that's just bad process to me.
Yeah.
Well, I hate when people say bad process, but that's bad process for me.
And I understood the narrative. I understood the idea of like this young player. They like, because there were times where he flashed the year before.
There's times he flashed last year.
I think what we saw last year was like he wasn't as good as we thought he was last year. That doesn't mean that he can't be as good as we thought he was last year. This year. Because one of the issues when we would watch these Green Bay games and be like, why are they giving the ball to AJ Dillon at the goal line? Like Aaron Jones is clearly better at the goal line in so many ways and has historically proven so. But what did the coaching staffs tell us? They wanted to like ground and pound with AJ Dillon at the goal line. That may not change. So like if he does like live up to like the hype of last year or like what people thought he was, from a talent standpoint, and they incorporate him a little bit more in the passing game, and they just incorporate like both him and Aaron Jones this year could potentially eat. Like if they're like lean on the running backs this year, both on the ground and in the air.
Aaron Jones, another player in Dynasty, man.
Yeah.
I keep going back to Dynasty. This is the time to get rid of him. This is the time right now. Next year his value's gonna dip.
Let's move on to Zeke though. Like, how do you feel about Zeke? Free agent, running back, a lot of carries.
I have more hopes for Zeke than I do Lenny because I think Zeke.
What?
I like Zeke. So to me, really, all of these things are situational.
So explain why you have more hope. Like, what are you seeing in Zeke, or what are you seeing in situation?
I just think Zeke looks better than Leonard Fournette.
Oh,
like
okay.
You can go to all the PFF and all the analytics that I think pretty much show that Leak was not a very efficient runner. Not that Zeke was a significantly efficient runner, but he definitely graded out less than Zeke.
Okay.
But to me,
so in the vacuum, Zeke over Fournette for you.
Well, some of that to me, I think, was more so Tampa Bay line. And even if you kind of account for the Tampa Bay line, which I think some of these analytics do, it's still you can't really just not account for the line. You cannot account for how the line played. That being said, even the eyeball test to me still tells me
Zeke
that Zeke hasn't. He's not number one. You're a Zeke hater, so let me finish before you. You're a Zeke hater. Let's just establish that.
I've been telling y'all.
Let's establish that.
You're right. Me being the unbiased voice.
But what I'm saying is it's situation dependent. So it depends on the team that he gets, that he lands on, and if he lands with the Bengals, okay, and then Joe Mixon actually has some legal issues, and Zeke is a starter.
He's not going to have any legal issues.
I think he will eat. I think he will eat.
You got to tell people you're a lawyer so you know what you're talking about.
He's not. They've already dismissed the case.
Okay, that's interesting.
That's why we've been
drafting. That's definitely interesting. I don't think Zeke. I think Zeke's talent has been zapped. I think he's kind of. I think he's gained too much weight, even though you can say similar things about Fournette. He just doesn't have that juice anymore. Nope. He doesn't have much of a passing game to him, while Fournette actually was still catching a fair amount of passes.
Because he was playing with Tom Brady. He wasn't doing anything with the catches. He was playing with Tom Brady.
I'm just saying, if we're looking at Lenny versus Zeke, for me, it's Zeke, and I don't even think it's
I'm not
close.
drafting any of these guys, but...
when is Zeke going? Is Zeke going before Fournette?
He's going to basically the same
place.
Basically the same place.
Yeah, and like I said, for me, if I was to rank the three guys, and the three guys I'm talking about is Fournette, Hunt, and Zeke. Yeah, I'd probably rank them in that order.
You probably
Fournette, Hunt, and Zeke.
Yeah, me too.
That's probably how I would rank them.
I think I go Zeke, Fournette, Hunt.
Are you the same as me?
No, I'm the same as you.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, we'll see. Side bet.
50 ball? 50?
We haven't had any bets this season.
We haven't had any bets yet.
We got to do it for a good one, though. That's kind of they're both not even going to sign for a team. They're both going to sign and just be backups all season.
Right.
Bum fight.
Yeah, bum fight. All right. So I'm going to pick a fight here. Just because we were going to talk about the Cowboys, but we decided not to talk about the Cowboys.
Yeah, sorry, y'all. They don't want to do team previews. Apparently, that's boring. So
I have to pull the pin on that one.
Apparently, 1st and 15 don't do team previews.
Right. Yeah. But I do want to pick a fight, though, because I feel like we see T. Higgins going in with the 3rd round, and then we see Brandin Cooks going in the 8th round, 5 rounds later. Mm-hmm. And to me, there is no reason why they should really be going that
This really
far apart.
this really the fight you want to pick?
This is the fight that I'm going to
And you want to put this all over camera on
I'm putting it
YouTube, on
wax.
Apple?
Yes.
He is
It's
a
because-
Brandin Cooks truther right now.
Yeah, he alone in that one.
Listen, Brandin Cooks has showed that he can produce with bad quarterbacks, let alone good quarterbacks. Now, I do see Dak as a good quarterback, and I do see Dak as a quarterback who's going to produce this coming season.
So a couple different things.
Go ahead.
Okay, number one, T. Higgins plays with Joe Burrow and for the Cincinnati Bengals, who will throw the ball all over the motherfucking field this year. Pretty much. Like, so, from a pass volume standpoint, from a utilization standpoint, like, definitely give me T. Higgins. Because guess what? As far as, when you look at the trio with the Bengals, it is clearly Chase, T. Higgins, and then Tyler Boyd for leftovers. I really have no faith in even Irv Smith. So to me, this is why people keep talking, and myself included, that like, oh, this is like, if Chase is gonna have his like career year, I could easily see it being this year, and him easily being the number one overall, just because I feel like they're like.
But we're talking about T. Higgins.
Yeah,
not
we
Chase.
are talking about T.
If
but
you're saying
that's what I'm
Chase has a career year, then how
So
do you then see T. Higgins?
the reason that happens, I'm getting there.
All right, go ahead.
I'm about to get there. The reason that happens is because the wide receiver volume is going to be so funneled between two guys. Okay, that route tree or the passing tree is going to really be between mostly T. Higgins and Jamar Chase.
Y'all are not even bringing up the biggest factor for Abby. He is high on Michael Gallup.
And that's when I get my second.
Right,
year.
like that's what
That's
he
really
really.
T. Higgins.
That's
Really,
really what
you're
he
talking
really-
about a Chase and Higgins tree,
Yeah.
and CD Cooks and Gallup.
Gallup.
No.
That's what he believes. He believes that-
Correction. CD, Gallup, and Cooks. Okay, so you're making an argument about a potential wide receiver three on a team. Look, number one, where's Cooks is going? What, like in the 8th, 9th round?
Yeah.
Where's Gallup going? 18th, 17th round.
Very
He's going around Zeke.
Yeah.
He's going around Zeke for net territory. People forget that like he had an ACL injury last year and came back super early. Like, remember, he was supposed to start on the PUP and somehow came back and played week 1.
Yeah.
So what, that's like 7-8 months coming back from an ACL? That's unheard of,
Yeah.
okay? So, and we all know how guys usually perform coming off first year of the ACL. We don't touch them. Okay?
Right.
We really just don't touch them, okay? Because we know that production's going to dip and we know that like high risk for re-injury. Let's also not forget about the contract that they gave this man. After he had torn his ACL.
It's the
After he
Cowboys.
torn his
Who cares
ACL.
about the contract with the Cowboys?
You know what that's okay?
It's the same team that gave Zeke the contract that they had.
What did they do? They fed Zeke. Even when you felt like Pollard and everybody on earth,
and everybody
on earth felt like Pollard was better.
That's a bad contract.
But even you and everybody on earth felt like Pollard was by far the best back. And what did Dallas
And he
Cowboys do?
produced.
They
He
gave
didn't.
it to Zeke. They started Zeke. They gave
You
Zeke
think it
more
was worth the
touches.
contract though?
It doesn't matter what I think. They gave the contract to Zeke, and they started him and played him as such.
What I'm saying is to say
You're
that this
proving my
team
point
gave
for
him
me.
the
You a lawyer, you
I'm
proving my
not.
point for me.
I'm not. Good.
This is a perfect bet.
The defense rest.
This sounds like a bet.
This
actually does sound like a pretty good
Okay,
bet.
I put.
What's the bet?
But this is a 50.
So really, it should. So
No,
look,
what are y'all?
So
what are you arguing?
Cook,
you gonna say
Cook is going in the 8th, 9th
Yeah.
round. Gallup is going like 8 to 10 rounds after him.
How about this? Since he's going so early, give me 100 yards.
What?
Give me 100 yards. I bet you that Brandin Cooks outproduces, but you got to give me 100 yards.
So if Brandin Cooks does not produce 100 yards more than Gallup,
No. What I'm saying,
So
give me 100 yards in addition to whatever he produces for a 50 ball. And
Nah, man,
whoever
that's too
produces
complicated,
the
bro.
most.
Look.
No,
he's going.
It's just
he's
like
going
Gallup.
higher
it's just
ADP.
like any other bet.
No, let me tell you why it's complicated. Because you
It's a
believe
handicap.
Cooks is the wide receiver 2.
Right.
He believes Gallup is the wide receiver 2.
Right.
So it's really just a straight up who is going to end up being the wide receiver 2 for the
I
Cowboys.
think Gallup's
bet.
ADP is much better. I think you should. I
We're not
thought the
talking
argument.
about-
Look, no.
You
I thought
talking
the
Gallup?
argument.
You want to bet Gallup?
That's what
Look,
I'm talking
look,
about.
We can bet Gallup straight up.
That's what I'm talking
who
about.
produces
Were you
more?
talking about Cook
He's
versus
talking about
Higgins?
Higgins, yeah.
I was about T. Higgins.
Yeah,
give me 100
we
yards.
can have two bases. No.
Give me 100 yards with T. Higgins. is
We
what
can
I'm
have
saying.
two bets.
No.
Cook,
You
Higgins.
keep saying that.
I'll give you 100
But the
yards.
thing is-
I'll give you
the
100
thing
yards.
is, though, like we keep talking about T. Higgins. He's been in the league for a few years.
Yeah.
His top
It's
season.
his contract year, by the way.
Right.
Still
honest,
young.
Hey, let me get this bet.
And to be honest, he wanted a contract this past
Okay,
offseason.
so
everybody does. Everybody
so
wants
bet
to get
one,
money.
bet
And he
one,
said
bet
no.
one. Okay, bet one. Cooks versus Higgins. I give you 100 yards. Okay, so that means Higgins has to outproduce Cooks by 100 yards.
More than 100 yards.
Okay, more than 100 yards. So
Yeah.
101.
Yeah.
Okay, just to be clear.
Yeah.
just to clarify.
Yeah.
Nah, it was 98 yards.
Hey, how much
It
we
was
putting on
98.
this? How much we putting on this?
Yeah. A 50
No,
ball.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
that's bet
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Bet two, okay,
Just
is-
straight up,
is
Cooks and Gallup.
versus Gallup.
Yeah,
no,
just
no,
straight
it's not
up.
Cooks versus
Easy.
Gallup because
Cooks
Cooks is
versus
going.
Gallup.
Cooks is going in the 8th round.
But that's the same point that I'm making.
no. That's round 3 versus
No.
8
No.
versus 8 versus like 16.
You believe
Nah.
that Gallup is the guy, though. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Nah,
if you
the bet has
So
to
give
be.
me 100. So give me 100.
No.
I'm not giving you 100
Don't give
with
no
Gallup.
no yardage. The bet. 'cause
Okay,
it's
I'll do
simple.
that. I'll do
You
that.
believe
I'll do
Gallup
that.
is wide
I'll do
receiver
that.
two. You
I
believe
got
Cooks
that.
is wide receiver two.
Yeah.
So
I
it's,
got
it's gonna
that.
play itself out. And really, I could just
We
make it
put
straight
50
up.
on that. That's
yeah.
cool.
There
Straight
you
up.
go.
Yeah, straight
There you
up.
go.
So
Yes.
yardage. Wait. Yardage. No, let's do fantasy points because we talking fantasy.
You got to have fantasy points.
fantasy points. Fantasy points for both.
Is there
That's
an injury?
Injury clause?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the injury clause.
Injury clause.
Oh, no, that's no injury clause. That's part of the game.
Okay, fine.
That's part of
Fine.
the issue with
Whatever,
Gallup.
Whatever.
I
man.
like
That's part of the issue with Gallup.
yeah.
That's part of the issue
Okay,
with
You
Gallup.
okay.
still haven't learned your lesson yet, huh?
It's
No,
all right.
you are
Listen.
injury prone until
Hey.
you're not.
No,
Look.
Gallup has had 1,000 yards
You
season.
beat it. You beat it to death. It's on wax.
Yeah,
it's on wax.
wax.
Okay,
We'll
so
let it
wait.
play out.
So what's the bet? Just to confirm.
Straight up, Cooks versus Gallup, and then
Fantasy points.
yeah, fancy, and then Higgins. That's yardage. Higgins is
Yeah.
yardage. 100 yards more than
That's easy.
Cooks.
That's light work. Let's go.
You think that is easy, but the thing is, though, like T. Higgins in his 3 seasons has never cracked 1,100 yards when we have seen Cooks do it with bad quarterbacks. We've seen him with
as a
Davis
number
Mills.
one.
Wide receiver one of
As
those
a number
teams,
one.
though. He wasn't. He's gonna be the wide receiver
When
two
that
or wide receiver three.
with that Deshaun Watson season, he had 1,150.
Cooks was the wide receiver one that year.
Yeah, like what I'm saying is, but we've seen him do it, right?
Right.
With a bad quarterback. We've seen him crack 1,000 yards with a bad quarterback. You want him to do it in a year in which you think that Jamar Chase is going to have a career year,
Chris,
and you still want
Chris,
him
Yeah.
the premise you keep
Yeah.
missing is he feels like Cooks is the wide receiver 3.
I know, but
So as the wide a wide receiver 3 season compared to a wide receiver 1 season, the wide receiver 1 season is going to be dramatically different.
no, but like what I'm saying is, even if we look at T. Higgins seasons when Jamar Chase has been injured, he still has not gotten close. Well, I shouldn't say
When has
close.
Jamar Chase been injured like that?
I mean, he got injured last season and missed quite a few
T. Higgins
games.
was injured
And
last
he is-
year.
And the
No, I
season
think he
before
missed
that.
like a game or two.
Yeah, but
he
remember
played
he
16
had
games.
he had a couple games. That's because he had 2 or 3 games where literally he did not play. He had one game where he was active and literally did not play any snaps.
That's all right. It's all right. I mean, the bet's already out there. Let's see how it plays out.
Oh, that's light work.
Yeah, all right.
I'm already thinking about how I'm gonna spend his $100.
All right. Like we getting wings for one of the episodes. We gonna use some wings for this. But seriously, like, do you think that the difference should be that wide though? 5 rounds?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 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 Next question, Your Honor.
Stop it. Stop it. You wanted to talk about receiver handcuffs, so let's talk about receiver handcuffs because, like, I don't even know what that really means. Like, we see running back handcuffs. A running back goes down. Backup running back ends up getting somewhat of that load.
Takes the role.
Yeah, like takes the role.
Ideally, a running back handcuff is once the running back goes down, the backup literally takes exactly the same
Yeah.
role, and it's usually not exact, but
Yeah, but how does that
ideally
work
take
with
the exact role.
receivers though?
So a good example of this would be like low hanging fruit, like a Joshua Palmer from last year. So the idea behind this is that like basically what we've discussed pretty much this whole episode, which is that like we get so excited about these potential handcuffs and we talk about, oh, get this handcuff, make sure you draft this guy, make sure you draft this guy. When really I think the focus should be on some of these wide receivers that have a potential. Gallup is an option. Like there's no reason that Gallup should be going late because one, he has the standalone value. So it's really not even, it's like really wide receiver handcuff plus, okay? Because if CD were to go down, now you're potentially looking at a wide receiver 1 if you believe he's a wide receiver 2. Or, if Cooks were going that late. But there are a number of guys that are going down or that are being drafted late. You could look at a lot of the New York Giants wide receivers. If we're all concerned about... Say what?
Name them.
I have one that I'm drafting.
Y'all know I've been...
I want to know who on the
Isaiah
Giants.
Hodgins for me.
I forgot you love Hodgins.
Whoever
I love Hodgins.
Whoever.
Who do you love? No, that's a good topic. Who do you love on New York? I want to know. Put it out there.
Y'all know who I like. Y'all know
Who? Paris?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been a Paris Campbell guy all season. But that's my point though, is rather than me, taking a bunch of stabs at like running backs that are likely, potentially just like the RB3 and may have zero value, why not take a stab at a Paris Campbell who can potentially have a week-to-week value?
Yeah.
He could be their wide receiver 1, okay? He could be. Or if their top pass catcher goes down, Darren Waller, if you believe in injury prone
Richie
and the
James
old
is gone
guys,
too, by the way.
and you believe in the injury prone narrative and things like that. If Darren Waller goes down, somebody's going to have to catch passes.
Yeah.
Same thing with pretty much all the Houston
Sterling
Texans.
Shepard will catch those passes.
Okay, so whoever you like, but basically you take.
I didn't say I like. I didn't even say my guy.
Yeah. So
I didn't say my guy.
Who's your guy?
Better not say Jalen Hyatt. Don't even go there.
I think y'all sleeping on Wandale a little bit.
So that's another guy coming off ACL. So for me, I just erase. I'm okay missing those guys.
Yeah.
So is Shepard.
Yeah, but Wandale's ACL was a
What
lot
was Paris
later.
Campbell's injury last year?
Paris Campbell didn't have it. Paris Campbell didn't have an injury last year.
Yes, he did.
No, he did not. Bro, he
Bro,
played a full season last year.
What year was it where he played?
Paris
against
Campbell
the
played a
Texans, and
full-
he caught that long pass, and then that same game he got hurt. I thought it was last year. Maybe it wasn't last year.
No. I think Paris Campbell played a full 16 games last year, and I thought he looked pretty good. I could be wrong. Chris will fact check that, but. Texans are one, not to beat on the Texans. Like, I understand why people are drafting them late, but like, really, I like the Texans wide receivers.
People are drafting them?
No, people aren't drafting.
Oh, aren't drafting. Okay,
or drafting them really late. So in that range where I basically, rather than me like kind of taking stabs at some of these random handcuffs, I'm not saying don't draft any handcuffs. Like, there are a couple guys that I just like because maybe I'm looking at the situation and I can see a path as or like maybe I have a strong inclination that they are the running back too, or I just want to have a few. On my
You're right.
staff.
He played all full.
The idea is to sort of
year.
kind of hold, because these handcuffs can potentially be like literally dead weight, not just dead weight in like the sense that we think of it, but like that hurts your squad because if you got a handcuff in your team who you truly believe in and he does not see the light of day, you have just like basically played an entire season with one.
Can I ask a question?
Spot.
Let me ask you a question. Well, first off, also another guy I like is Darius Slayton. I'm just gonna put it out there. I don't know what to expect outcome-wise, but I like him. Yeah. But here's my question. With what you're talking about, because the wide receiver handcuff thing is kind of confusing for me as well. But
wide receiver handcuff plus, I got to come up with a better name, but you
got to workshop that.
You got to workshop that.
But who is the wide receiver handcuff plus for the Bills?
So
and it's relevant now because of Stephon Diggs.
So Gabe Davis is not going late, but you can. This doesn't just apply to late round. To the late rounds. This also applies to those middle rounds.
Just straight up,
for me, Gabe Davis. I love where Gabe Davis is going now. Again, this goes back to that same point. We're just gonna keep reiterating some of this like game theory. Go back and look at last year's draft board. Find out who the guys like everybody was high on, because there's some merit to them being high on. There's some merit to people being high on AJ Dillon. There was some merit to people being high on Gabe Davis.
Of course, that playoff game, man.
So if there is some merit to it, but yet we're gonna like get this massive discount, you may have just been 1 year too early. So for me, Gabe Davis is that guy. I love seeing Gabe Davis at the in the eighth, ninth round. Like that to me, that's like a legit wide receiver too, who has the potential to give you 25 to 30 points weeks. And he was a guy who played through a high ankle sprain last year. And Josh Allen had his injury last year too. So like, and they didn't really add anybody else that I think is of significance. I'm not worried about the Dalton Kincaid pick, to be quite honest. So,
Chris, in a future episode, maybe we should talk a little bit about Michael Thomas for the Saints.
Didn't we talk about Michael?
We talked about Michael Thomas a little bit.
No. We hinted at it. The idea of like we haven't given him much talk or discussion.
Okay.
Right.
So we should.
I want to talk it out sometime.
Yeah, we should.
All right, guys.
So
like,
real quick though,
by the way. So
man, I was gonna say like Khalil Shakir's out there. And I didn't get a chance to say my Dynasty rookies. Can I just rattle those off?
Go ahead.
Okay. I got them listed out. I'm sorry, people. I just want to list out.
That would have been good for the Dynasty segment.
Yeah, but it's a Dynasty episode. Dynasty week. Let's go.
All right,
but real quick, just some rookies I like. No specific order, and this doesn't mean these are only guys I like. I guess these are guys I like the most. We talk about Marvin Mims. Love him. But again, rattle them off. Keandre Miller for the Saints. Quinn Johnson I like, even though the Dynasty community is kind of little in with him initially. I like him. I liked him from the jump. Yeah. Tajay Spears, Rashawn Johnson I like. I think Rashawn Johnson might take that job at some point this year. Tank Bigsby. Jalen Reed. We were talking about the Packers earlier. Don't sleep on Reed. I think he's actually getting first team reps now. Second round
He
pick.
should. They have nobody.
Second
They have
round
nobody
pick.
else.
Yeah. I like Romeo Doubs though.
Doubs, yeah.
I like
him. I like him.
Doubs.
That's what I keep trying to tell people. Like their receiving core is not that bad.
Right,
That's why I took it, and because that's why I went for Jordan Love. Young receiving core, he gets to grow old with these guys.
Yeah,
He doesn't love love.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I do love some love.
Love him some love. All right. Jalen Reed, Chase Brown. We talked about him a little bit. Izzy Abanikanda. There's a chance he might get a fair amount of work with Brees Hall still working his way back. And he very young, has one of the higher RAS scores coming out, so don't forget about him. Josh Downs for the Colts. I love Josh Downs. Tank for the Texans, Tank Dell. Eric Gray, backup running back for the Giants. Clayton Tune, if you're in Superflex, try to scoop him. He might get some work this year for the Cardinals.
You can't give them all.
No, I'm going to give him all of them. This is only going to have one episode of Dynasty, right? Clayton Tune for
Let this man shine.
University.
You don't want to say it.
Go.
Just listen.
Walk away. Let him go.
Don't even pay attention to these guys on the side, right? My Dynasty folks. Look here. We're right here, right? We're right here. Clayton Tune, if you're in a Superflex, right? Look at him. He's one of the quarterbacks that you can take late. Even Stetson Benson, but I think Bennett, I think his name, gonna get picked. Dwayne McBride, everybody already knows about him already. You know, he's a thing. Keyshawn Butte for the Patriots. I don't know what to make of him, but we've seen the talent in the past. Michael Wilson. Here's the thing with Michael Wilson for the Cardinals, right? 3rd round pick. They just cut DeAndre Hopkins. Hollywood Brown is dealing with a foot injury right now, and he's had foot injuries in the past. Michael Wilson has good size. They're kind of in a rebuild. Don't be surprised if they give him a fair amount of work to just kind of see what he is. And then Justin Shorter, and this is what reminded me about this because we were looking at the Bills receiver room. Justin Shorter, when he was coming out of high school, was the number 1 ranked wide receiver in his class. You know?
Yeah.
See, this is why you come to first and 15.
Right.
Number one, I've never heard of this guy a day in my life.
I have no idea.
Let alone, like,
there we go right there. The backup receiver.
Hold up. Let me get my, what?
Yeah, Justin Shorter. He went to, I think, University of Florida or something. He just didn't have a great college career. I think he even transferred or something. 5th round pick for the Bills. He's had Florida. He's had some TO comparisons, even though, you know, people like to embellish a little bit. Yeah. But again, just the fact that he was the number 1 wide receiver coming out, there's talent there. So, but that's all I have, man.
We're gonna have to talk about this Buffalo Bills running back room one episode too. But
James Cook and a bunch of bums.
Oh, you with me on that one. You with me on that one.
Damian Harris
Hey,
is
for real, if you like doing a 0 RB right now, which is a great time to do
James
it.
Cook.
James Cook is a
lovely.
He's a lovely.
I love James Cook.
All right.
I love James. No homo.
Had me a nice little build, nice little T Higgins in the 3rd. James Cook in the 9th.
All right, guys. I think we've gone overtime. We've already gotten scolded for that.
Dynasty week, I'm in the middle. I kind of like this, man. I was kind of hearing y'all go back and forth.
Man, look, we may have to keep this.
We might have to change. We might
keep the setup.
What y'all think?
All right.
Y'all let us know.
All right, please like, rate, subscribe.
And we're out.